Welcome to the Andy Staples Show, presented by Sling Special Edition. We're here at the Mandalay Bay Sportsbook. It is Championship Saturday, but we got some coaching news. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, leaving Jackson State after leading Jackson State to another SWAC championship, second in a row. He's headed to Colorado to become the Buffaloes head coach, to try to resurrect a program that really hasn't been relevant much since the 1990s.
Pac-12 is getting a lot of fun, isn't it? I mean,
oh
geez.
My! This is really interesting because Colorado has really struggled. They had the one good year under Mike McIntyre when they won the Pac-12 South, but they've just they've kind of been spinning their wheels. They thought they had something going with Mel Tucker, but then Michigan State basically doubled their offer, and Mel Tucker really had no choice but to take that job. And it feels like Colorado was kind of stuck in the mud. But now they hire a guy who instantly makes them relevant. Deion Sanders by himself is more relevant than Colorado's entire program. I was looking at the numbers for his social media. So he has 2.8 million Instagram followers. He has 1.37 million subscribers to the Barstool YouTube account. And his whole deal with Barstool, they basically do documentaries on him. And I'm assuming that continues as he goes to Colorado. He's got 1.4 million Twitter followers. Everything this guy does, which is more relevant than anything Colorado does.
Well, I bet you if you went across the board with his following, there's not a lot of social accounts for any college football program that would outweigh his reach.
Exactly.
So that's the thing that I think is the most interesting thing about this hire. Because earlier on in the year, we were discussing like Deion Sanders to Auburn or Deion Sanders to this job or that job. Like, I think that both of us kind of agreed or thought that he could
do a little better.
He could do better than Colorado. Yeah. But the thought process with what you just said is that Coach Prime is the event.
Right.
And no matter where he goes, as long as they have facilities in a Power 5 conference and play in a system where he can recruit players to and make the playoff, that it doesn't really matter where he goes. It's him. He's the thing.
And you've got USC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12. So it's Oregon, it's Washington, it's Utah. Those are the teams that are going to probably get most of the talent. Kenny Dillingham, the new coach at Arizona State, will try to get his share too. But Deion Sanders got the number one recruit in the country, Travis Hunter, to sign with Jackson State last year. Imagine what he's going to be able to get at Colorado.
Oh, yeah. And not to mention who might be going with him there.
Travis Hunter. Shador Sanders, his son, the quarterback at Jackson State.
So actually, when you think about the Pac-12's new existence.
Yes.
In the expanded playoff that's coming in 2 years, Colorado is in a pretty good position if they attract talent and he stays long enough to see it through.
Yes.
Where they could be a playoff team in that new system and be a really fun team to watch.
I mean, listen, you got to be able to hang with Utah. You got to be able to hang with Oregon, to hang with Washington.
But if they get the Travis Hunters of the world, they're going to roll them.
Absolutely hang with those teams.
And like, listen, I don't know what people think about Jackson State. This team went undefeated this year. Going undefeated in a college program.
They were mauling people. And that's the thing. We're in the sportsbook, by the way. We've got games going on. We will be going live after the Big Ten Championship and the ACC Championship to talk about everything that went on in college football today.
Which was a lot.
But we got to. But the point you made about Deion is absolutely right. They were mauling people at Jackson State, and he didn't have head coaching experience before this. He did hire a very good staff, and he recruited a lot of talent. Well, guess what? That works.
That's literally the
everywhere.
That's like being
that travels.
Like if you're able to recognize that about yourself. Yeah. Because somebody with prime times, and we're calling him prime time for goodness sake. Well, somebody with Sanders's background and history.
The name Deion Sanders opens every door in recruiting, because even though recruits right now, don't remember him playing, mom and dad remember him playing, and they've told this kid, this is the greatest cornerback of all time. He wants to talk to you about playing for his team.
Yeah, and somebody in his position, which is what I was going to say, is he might be too arrogant to say, hey, I need an offensive coordinator or I need a staff. I can do this on my own, because his entire life he's been nothing but net for 30 years. Right. I mean, the guy's done everything, and he's been successful. But if you're smart enough to know that college football is about who you surround yourself with and the talent that you put yourself in a position to coach, then it's a much easier thing. So I think that, to me, I was always wondered, well, why don't you just stay at Jackson State for a few years, wait for the perfect job to open? Maybe it's Auburn or an Auburn-like job, become more qualified as a coach, more experience, and then just go to the big-time place. But if you're Deion Sanders, maybe the best place is a program that has a seat at the table with this new playoff,
right,
and a Power 5 conference without all the other bull that comes with coaching at Auburn.
Well, and he also wasn't a candidate for Auburn.
Right.
They looked at Lane Kiffin. He didn't want it. They hired Hugh Freeze, who had experience coaching in the SEC.
Yeah.
And I think there was going to be a group of schools that was not going to look at Deion Sanders because they're going to say, you don't have enough experience.
Yeah.
But I've thought about this a lot as Deion has kind of risen as a coaching star. Like, if his name was Dave Smith, and instead of being the greatest cornerback of all time, he'd been a GA, and then, you know, the receivers coach or the DBs coach at a small school, and then the OC or the DC at a small school, and then become a head coach at the FCS level, like, we'd be like, oh, yeah, he's won 2 SWAC championships in a row. Look at how he's kicking everybody's ass. Absolutely, this guy should be a candidate for every job.
And also, too, if you say, well, the reason why he's winning 2 SWAC championships in a row is because I got the number 1 overall player in the country. That's not an insult. That's the point. That's literally what he has to do.
That's a lot of the job.
Yeah. So, like,
especially in the Pac-12, like, yes, if you get the Auburn job, getting the number 1 player in the country isn't enough. Like, you're going to have to out-scheme Kirby Smart and out-scheme Nick Saban.
And you have to do it 5, 6, 7, 8 more times
out-scheme Brian
a year.
Kelly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're also getting that level of player. But at Colorado, the teams you're playing, they're not usually getting that level of player. If you can, you have a prohibitive advantage.
So here's the one thing now, because we've been glowing about this.
Yeah.
I think anybody in a position like Colorado who takes a shot on a guy that is a lightning rod, you love it. There's no possible way that you could not like this hire, right? There's nobody in Colorado
much more interesting than anything else Colorado could have done. Yes.
Just like it automatically makes them relevant. It makes them something that we pay attention to.
Right.
It makes them something worth tracking.
Yes.
Both in recruiting and on the field. But if there's one thing that you could go, I'm not necessarily sure that this is the perfect place, the location.
Yeah.
Do you think that Deion Sanders, and maybe the answer is just you're an idiot. Yeah, of course he does. But, like, is that going to be a more difficult place to recruit to?
Listen, every sports writer is like, how can you not recruit to Boulder, Colorado? Because every sports writer wants to live in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, but
I don't know that every aspiring college athlete wants to, but it doesn't matter if you can put together a program where you say, I got all these guys coming. We're going to have great players around you.
We're going to beat USC. We're going to beat Oregon.
Right, well, USC might not be there.
Oh, yeah, for the next few years or so. But, you know, we're going to beat Utah. We're going to own this side of the West Coast, and we're going to make the playoff. We're going to do stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, like, the thing, too, with Deion is, like, and he said it on 60 Minutes, like, when he was on the show, like, Colorado's facilities are probably like the Taj Mahal to him compared to, like, what they had before,
exactly
too. So,
right.
like,
yeah, a coach coming from somewhere else in the Power 5 might say, ooh, I don't know about this.
But, you know.
But coming from Jackson State, yes, you are. And that's the thing. Leaving Jackson State is going to be tough. Like, there are going to be people upset with Deion for leaving Jackson State, and I get that. But he never said, I'm out to save HBCU football, did he? I mean, I will say, while he was there, he made a lot of really interesting points and did a lot of interesting things with regard to HBCU football. For instance, he started saying, why do we pay all these middlemen to do these classics for us? They're taking a lot of the money that the schools could be taking for themselves. So why don't the 2 schools just rent the stadium? And these are questions no one was asking before Deion got there.
Yeah.
He was getting money. He was raising money for Jackson State that they couldn't have raised otherwise.
So to the people, because there is a certain faction of person out there, and I'm going to describe that person.
Yeah.
That person is, we were sold that HBCUs was a passion project.
Right.
That shining a light on what those, you know, historically black college and universities offer African-American students in particular is something that needs to be, you know, looked into, expanded, and celebrated. And then a few years into this, with the recruits that he promised,
and he's probably
a lot of money, but
some of them,
he's bolting. Now, we don't know what Travis Hunter is going to do. We don't know what his son's going to do. We can guess, make a really good guess. But is there any sort of thought process of, like, Deion didn't fulfill his promise?
Deion wanted to be a Power 5 coach. That was not a secret. Like, when Florida State opened, when Willie Taggart got it, he wanted that job. He talked to Hunter Yurachek about the Arkansas job when they hired Sam Pittman. He wanted to be a Power 5 coach. That was not something he was hiding. So I would say you can be upset about him leaving, but he has shined a light on HBCU football that wasn't there before. He has brought attention to HBCU football that might not have been there. And
it's up to them.
Right. You have to keep
carry
it going.
the torch because he's not going to be there forever anyway.
I talked to Rob J the other day. Rob's the play-by-play voice of Jackson State. And he was saying that he doesn't know if Jackson State football can be this again after Deion. But I think that's the challenge to the university leadership. He's shown you a path.
Yeah.
But it's not the easiest path because you saw Tennessee State's hired Eddie George. They haven't done that great.
Right.
Grambling hired Hugh Jackson, a former NFL head coach, and it hasn't been the same thing. So it's up to the university leadership to find somebody who can keep that
the main
going.
question here, Andy, too, is he could lay out the blueprint. He can say, here's what you do, here's how.
Right, but not everybody has what he has.
Like, if you're not Deion, can you duplicate it?
Yeah,
like, that's the thing. Like, somebody could lay out a blueprint to a house and say, here's how you make it, Ari. Go do it. I couldn't get past the first step. So, like, there are thought processes about it, and, like, you have to kind of, appreciate those things. But at the same time, too, it's like, I don't think Deion Sanders ever made a promise or said this is going to be his lifelong work.
Well, I think his actions before taking the Jackson State job told you this is.
And on 60 Minutes, he said he would entertain.
Yeah, he had to listen.
Now, the thing that was unclear, which I think is pretty clear now, is he was ready to go be a Power 5 coach.
Yes.
Like it wasn't like, I don't mind staying for a few years, seeing what opens up, and then maybe Florida State opens up or a SEC school or something, and then I bolt to there. It was like, I want to do this, and I want to do this as soon as possible because I think he knows.
Here's the thing, though. If he can win at Colorado,
why leave? He might. I mean, but like what?
But then everybody wants you if you can win at Colorado.
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, it is possible. Like, you go win a Pac-12 championship at Colorado in year 3, and then all of a sudden a powerhouse program opens up, and their national championship expectations. Like, you think that he could be like a head coach of a Clemson or an Ohio State or an Alabama.
At Colorado, he could do that. Like, winning at Colorado is hard. The curve on that's going to be hard. Like, if he could come in and look, the way college football works now with the transfer portal, with NIL, and especially the attention that Deion brings, that brings an extra NIL element to it because he raises your profile by being your coach.
Yeah.
So the way he can stock a roster way more quickly. This would have been especially given all that Colorado lost. Like, look what they lost out of transfer portal. Christian Gonzalez at Oregon is a first-round draft pick. He was on Colorado's roster. USC's got a corner who was on Colorado's roster last year who starts. Like, they lost talent. They were down bad. If he can stock a roster and make them a competitive program in year 1, which I don't know because that's not going to be easy. But if he can, I don't think you should be doubting him.
Here's the thing that's really awesome about Colorado. If he gets 12 elite level players on that team, whether it be through the portal, through high school, whatever, in that conference, you can win 9 games like that.
Conference right there, yeah.
So, like, if you go take the Auburn job,
right,
that ain't doing anything.
No,
but
you got a steeper climb there, yeah.
Like, you actually have a chance to win the conference in year 2 or 3 if you do that a few years in a row. So, like, that's an exciting thing for the Pac-12. And, like, as we were in Vegas this weekend, watching the Pac-12, I thought that was a great showcase for the conference.
It looked amazing. The crowd was incredible. The USC and Utah fans.
We're talking about the Big Ten and all the coaches that are kind of booing up the basement in that conference. Putting Deion in the worst program in the Pac-12's office there, talk about raising the low bar. I mean, like, think about it. Add another team like that. Because this is a conference that has 6 top 25 teams this year.
Ari, Deion Sanders is going to meet Ralphie. Have you ever wanted to see a press conference so bad in your life?
No, I can't wait to see how that goes. But
they have a live bison mascot that runs down the field.
I wonder, too, like, now that he's at a Power 5 place, if he's going to even get bigger and more Deion, more prime time, act differently, give into football a little bit more. I don't think he needs to do anything different than the way he did it at Jackson State. Yeah.
I think that does it because everything he does has a huge reach. And like we said earlier, it's a bigger reach than anything Colorado football had going. And it's really probably a bigger reach than anything in the Pac-12 other than maybe Oregon football and USC football.
Well, the real question I have for you before we, get out of here, not that we're ending it, but do you think it's going to work?
He got the number one player in the country to sign at Jackson State. I think he can get some good players at Colorado.
Yeah,
I do.
I'm excited. Do you imagine a class where Colorado signs 7 or 8 top 100 players?
It's going to be wild.
Because, there is a thing, too. For as good as it was,
yeah,
the players that he got to Jackson State,
yep,
there is a certain faction of high school players that would be interested in Deion.
Right. Who wouldn't have done that.
Who wouldn't want to do that because of purely the level that they play at.
But now
everybody, if they like Deion or are intrigued by what he has to sell or how he is, Power 5 conference. And now that Power 5 is dying and they're
Power
in
2.
Power 2.
But
it's still they got a seat at the table.
And if you win the conference, you're in the playoff. So
there's an Arby's commercial with the same athletic A as us.
There you go.
Same logo.
Ari, Coach Prime's going to meet a Buffalo.
Yeah.
What a world.
This sport.
It's the dumbest, greatest sport ever.
Yeah. We are blessed to talk about it. And it's add another, every single time you can add a new storyline to track. It's better for us. It's better for you. It's better for everyone,
I've never wanted to watch a Colorado press conference this bad.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.